This is the Warrior Kid podcast, number 15, Ask Uncle Jake. This podcast is based on the two Way of the Warrior Kid books. The first one, Wimpy to Warrior, The Navy SEAL Way, and the second one, which is called Mark's Mission. And both those books are about young Mark, who faces a lot of the problems that kids everywhere face. But Mark gets some help solving those problems from his Uncle Jake, who was a Navy SEAL, and who stays with Mark in the summertime. And so this podcast is for kids to hear some more lessons from Uncle Jake and also get a chance to ask Uncle Jake questions. So here we go. The first question is from a 6-year-old warrior kid named Creed. And his question is, will you please help me understand what having discipline means? So I talk about discipline a lot, but I'm going to clarify it again for Creed, because sometimes we don't understand things at first and we got to hear them again. And that's actually good to ask questions if you don't understand something. So Creed asked the question. No problem. Here we go. Having discipline means doing things that are hard to do. It means doing things that might not feel good while you're doing them, but they will feel good when you're done because you know you've done something good. For instance, having discipline means saving your money instead of wasting it. It means eating healthy food that makes you strong, instead of eating junk foods, which might taste good, but they actually make you weak. Having discipline means studying when you actually feel like maybe you want to watch some TV. It means practicing your guitar or whatever instrument you play. It means practicing that instrument instead of playing a video game. Having discipline basically means doing the things that you should do, the right things, even if you don't feel like it. And what's the best thing about discipline is that if you have discipline, it makes your life better. In the long run, it makes your life better. So do what you're supposed to do and have some discipline. The next question is from Reese, and she is a warrior kid. She's 8 years old, and she's got a question that adults ask me too. The question is, how do you work out even when your muscles are really sore and tired? So if you are super sore and tired from working out, which definitely happens, and it especially happens when you first start working out. So if that happens, if you're super sore, then just do something for a workout that's a little bit easier. Try going for an easy jog or something like that, or doing some stretching, or do some light calisthenics. And calisthenics are when you're using your own body weight to work out, things like jumping jacks and push-ups. Just do some light ones of those. You know what I like to do when I'm sore? Jiu Jitsu. I always like doing Jiu Jitsu, but when I'm sore, I like doing Jiu Jitsu because it makes me feel better, because you're moving your body around and sweating a little bit. And I think that makes me feel better, and I think it would probably make you feel better too. And then, so if you're really sore one day, and so you go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to work out super hard today. I'm going to do a lighter workout. And then you do that lighter workout, and then the next day you're still sore. Well, then it probably means that your body needs a day of rest. So take a day off and eat some good food and get a lot of sleep, and that will help your muscles recover. Good luck with that, Reese. The next question is from David, who is a warrior kid that is 10 years old. And he says, how does it feel to write the Way of the Warrior Kid books? Kind of a cool question. And I definitely enjoy writing the Warrior Kid books a lot. It's nice to be able to tell stories and in those stories explain some things that I wish I would have known when I was a kid. And it's also nice to get letters and notes and emails from kids all over the world that explain to me how they are on the path. And they send me a picture of their warrior kid code, and they send pictures of them doing pull-ups, and they send pictures of them studying and doing jiu-jitsu. And it feels really good to see all these kids on the warrior kid path. So I'll write more warrior kid books as long as you all keep reading them. And the next question is from Zachary. And Zachary is another 10-year-old warrior kid. And he wants to know how long it took to become a Navy SEAL and what you have to do to qualify. When you join the Navy, from the day that you get into the Navy, it takes, I think, about 1.5 or 2 years from the time you join the Navy until you get your trident, which is the pin with the eagle and the anchor and the flintlock pistol on it. It's a gold emblem that you wear on your uniform, and that's what means you're a SEAL. And so it takes about 1.5, maybe 2 years to get to that spot, depending on how quickly you get through the training. Now, to answer the question of the things you have to do to qualify to be a SEAL, there's a bunch of them. You've got to be able to run 4 miles in soft sand with boots on, and the maximum time for that is 28 minutes. Now, that doesn't, if you know anything about running, that's not that fast for someone that runs all the time. People can run a 4-minute mile, and that's a 7-minute mile. So it's not super fast, but what people don't realize is that when you go to run that 4-mile timed run in soft sand with boots on, you're not fresh. You're tired from a bunch of other exercises that the instructors have made you do, and you're tired from the previous day and the day before that and the day before that. So even though the run isn't fast by the highest standards of a runner, in the situation that you're in when you're going through the training, you have to run really as hard as you can. So that's one thing. You got to do the timed runs. You got to do timed swims, and one of the swims is 5.5 nautical miles, which is a little over 6 regular miles, and that is a long swim. You got to learn to scuba dive. You got to learn to parachute. You got to shoot expert with the rifle and the pistol. You got to learn to break down and reassemble and how to operate a bunch of different weapons from all over the world. You need to know how to read a map and compass. You need to know how to navigate on land. You need to know how to navigate underwater. You need to know how to utilize a bunch of different radio communication systems. You need to learn how to work in the mountains and in the jungle and in the desert and in the city. You've got to know what the differences between all those are. And you've got to learn how to work with explosives and improvised explosives. You've got to learn basic combat trauma care. So like a medic, you have to learn how to handle when someone gets hurt. You've got to learn and understand tactics for a variety of different terrains and situations. You got to learn how to work cameras for reconnaissance missions. And you got to learn how to lead. You got to learn how to be a leader and how to lead teams on operations. And the list really just goes on and on. There's a long list of things you have to do to qualify to be a SEAL. And that's one of the things that makes being a SEAL very fun, is that you get to learn a lot and you have a lot to practice, and you never stop learning and you never stop trying to be a better SEAL. There's so much stuff that you have to learn. You'll never master all of it. And that's why you're always training and always working and always trying to get better. And I'm going to do one last question. This question is from Alana. This is a good question. What should I do if my training, Alana does jiu-jitsu, what should I do if my training partner is goofing off when the coach isn't looking and I'm trying to tell them to work hard? So this is definitely not fun. And in those situations, of course, first of all, you keep working hard. And it sounds like you're trying to encourage them to do the same, to also work hard. The problem is that some kids don't want to work hard. That's the problem. They might be lazy. They might be bored. They might not have a good attention span, which means they get bored very easily, so they can't concentrate. And it's good that you're telling them to be more serious and stop goofing off. When you tell them to be more serious and when you tell them to stop goofing off, make sure that you explain to them why they should be more serious. You can't just say be more serious. You need to explain to them why it's important that they're more serious. Like you could say to them, listen, if you focus a little bit more, it'll make you better at Jiu Jitsu. If you focus a little bit more, you'll know how to defend yourself against bullies. If you pay attention a little bit more, we'll get a good workout and we'll be in better shape and we'll be healthier. And so if you explain to someone why it's important, then there's a better chance that they do it. Now, there's a chance that that also won't work. Because what you're doing really, Alana, what we're talking about is you're going to be a leader. That's what you're doing. And leadership is hard. Trying to get someone to do what you want them to do is a hard thing to make happen. So if that doesn't work, if once you've explained to them why they should focus a little bit more, if they still don't do it, well, then we could try something else. You know what you could try is you could try actually trying to make it more fun for them. That's what you could do. You could try and create little games with your training partner that kind of focus on what you're learning and what you're drilling. So if you learned an arm lock and you're supposed to be drilling arm locks, see how many you can do before the instructor has another drill for you. Let's see how many we can do. Maybe have fun by making up a little song that tells you how to do the move, or maybe see how fast you can do the moves and then compete who can do the moves faster. So these are little things that will make it more fun. Or make a little game. Make little games that use the move. Like you could say, let's see if you can do an arm lock from the mount without touching your feet to the ground. Let's see if you can do that. And then you say, okay, well, let's see if you can do an arm lock just using one arm. Sometimes you know what I like to do? I like to do arm locks from the mount with no hands just to see if I can do it. It's hard. So if you try some little games like that, try making it fun for your training partner, give them some challenges, that might get them engaged and make them try harder. They won't even know that they're trying harder. They'll just think that they're playing more, which is fine. That's exactly what you want. Try and get them to have fun. And also, remember this. A lot of times, an instructor will put their best students with the students that have some trouble so that the good student can help the troubled student get better. So even though it might not feel like it sometimes, it's actually an honor to be able to help some of the kids that are having trouble out. So do your best. So those are some things to try. Now, if your training partner is still terrible, even after you've tried everything, you might have to tell the instructor what's going on after class so that the instructor can pay more attention to the kid that is goofing off. And then the instructor can help you keep the student in line so you can both learn. Good question, Alana. Good question about leadership. That's what you're trying to do, lead your training partner. All right, and that is all I had for questions, but I wanted to tell a quick story written by Uncle Jake about when Uncle Jake was a kid and how he learned something about life, something that he always remembered. So here we go from Uncle Jake. When I was a kid, there was a game that we made up that we played during recess if it was raining outside, so recess was in the gym. The game was kind of like dodgeball, except you could change sides at any time, and we called the game bashball. And it was a pretty fun game. So the way you'd play bashball is first we would pick teams, and then we would put a bunch of balls on the half-court line down the middle of the gym. And then the two teams would go to the walls on opposite sides of the gym with the balls right there in the middle. And then when everyone was on the walls and we were all set, someone would yell, "Go!" And as soon as that yell came, we would run to the center as fast as we could and try and grab a ball. And once you had a ball in your hand, The goal was kind of like dodgeball. The goal was to throw the ball at someone on the other side. And just like dodgeball, if you hit them and they didn't catch it, they were out. And if they caught the ball that you threw at them, you were out. And so that part was very much like dodgeball. But this is what made the game a little bit different. When it made sense, when you thought it made sense, you could actually just switch to the other side and play for the other team. And what that meant is that eventually there would only be two people left. One on one side and one on the other side. And when one of them hit the other one with the ball, the last person in the game would be the champion. So it was a pretty good game. It was pretty fun. But I could never actually win the game. I would do okay. I was pretty good at it, but I wouldn't ever win. That bothered me a little bit. I wanted to win. And there was another kid named Billy in the class. And he would play the game with us. And he was a smaller kid. Sometimes we called him Little Billy. He was very nice. He was tough. He was small, but he was tough and he was determined. He was also very quiet. He didn't say much. He played the game hard, but he didn't talk much. And he was probably about the same as me at bash ball. He was about as good as I was, and that meant that he never actually won the game either. But I could tell that, like me, he wanted to win the game, for sure. And one day it was raining outside, so we had recess in the gym. And we were kind of excited because that meant we got to play bash ball. And it just so happened that this day was a really good day for me. And I was playing very well. In the first game, I made it all the way until I was the fourth guy left. So I got fourth place. And then in the second game, I was the fifth guy left. A little bit worse, but still fifth place, not bad. In the third game, I was the third guy left. So third place, that was the best I'd ever done. And then I got knocked out. But that got me close. I could almost taste that victory. And I really wanted to win. And then in the fourth game, well, something happened. And it was kind of confusing, but I'll try and explain it. So I saw the best player from the other team charging to the line with a ball in his hand, and he was going to throw his ball at one of the best players from my side, who was also running to throw the ball at the other guy. They were both focused on each other. So they didn't see me. And while they were looking at each other and they were charging towards the line to throw their balls at each other, I came running in from the side. And as the other guy on the other side threw the ball at our best player, I threw the ball at that guy and I nailed him. And it felt good. Because if I could get that good player out of the game, there's a better chance I could win. But he was a really competitive player, and when I hit him, he screamed really loud because he was mad that he got hit. And when he screamed, everyone in the whole gym looked at him. Everyone except Little Billy. Little Billy, that quiet kid that I talked about, Little Billy pulled a very sneaky move. You see, while I was distracted and focused on throwing my ball at that other kid, Billy snuck in out of nowhere and hit me right in the side. But here's the thing, because everyone was looking at the kid that screamed, no one saw me get hit. No one saw it. Well, no one but Billy. And I looked around and I saw that no one was looking. Everyone was looking at someone else. And then I just acted like it didn't happen. I acted like I didn't get hit. No one really noticed, like I said, except Billy. And Billy just stood there looking at me. And he actually pointed at me. And I could see he wanted to say something like, hey, you're out, or I just hit you. But he didn't say anything. And I felt bad for a quick moment. But you know what? I really wanted to win. And a few seconds later, there were balls flying around again, and Billy had to move, and the game went on, and kids kept throwing balls, and kids kept getting knocked out one by one after the other, including Billy. And when Billy walked off the court, he did it very slowly, just looking at me. And then other kids got knocked out, and I kept going. And then suddenly it was just me and one other kid on the other side. It was down to the two of us to see who would be the champion. And we both rushed to the line, ready to throw. And then I did something very smart. Instead of focusing on hitting him with my ball, when he threw his ball at me, I just dropped my ball. I just dropped it, and I focused on catching the ball he had thrown, and I did it. I caught that ball that he had thrown. And that was it. I had won. I was the champion. And I felt awesome. I raised my hands into the air and I celebrated my victory. And a bunch of kids came back onto the court and they congratulated me for being the champ and gave me high fives. And then I saw Billy through the crowd. And he was just looking at me. But he didn't look happy for me at all. In fact, he looked disappointed. He shook his head slowly, with a look on his face almost like he felt sorry for me. He had a look on his face that said one thing and one thing only, that he knew I had cheated. He knew I wasn't a real champion. Not at all. And he kept looking at me, but he didn't say anything. He didn't need to say anything because I felt it. My victory was no victory at all. I had won only because I had cheated. And as soon as I realized that, the celebration was over. I wasn't happy anymore, not at all. In fact, I felt awful. He knew I cheated, and I knew I cheated. And I also knew something else. At that exact moment in time, I also knew that I would never cheat at anything again. Cheating isn't winning. Cheating isn't losing. Cheating is worse than losing. Cheating is a disgrace. And if you cheat, you're cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself of hard work. You're cheating yourself from getting better. And you're cheating yourself from knowing what victory, what winning really feels like. And on top of all that, more important, you're cheating other people from the victory that they actually earned and deserve. Cheating is awful, and it will make you feel awful. And I hope that little Billy hears this story one day. And if little Billy is listening, I would tell him 3 things. I'm sorry that I cheated. I never cheated again, and I never will. And thanks, little Billy, for teaching me how to be a better person. And as you listen to this story out there, I hope you can learn from Billy the same thing that I did. Don't ever cheat. And that is all we have for this Warrior Kid podcast. And if you want to get one of the Warrior Kid books, you can get them from warriorkid.com. And if you want a Warrior Kid t-shirt or a Jiu Jitsu rash guard, you can get them from jockostore.com. And if you start Jiu Jitsu, or if you're already training Jiu Jitsu and you need a Jiu Jitsu gi for kids, you can get one of those Warrior Kid gis at originmain.com. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading the books. And remember what I learned from Billy and what I learned from Bashball. That is that you should never cheat. Now go out there, train hard, study hard, work hard, get after it, and be a warrior